with Skellig, and welcome back. Today, we're going to discuss what to do if you feel stuck in Industry 3 at your job and you're interested in Industry 4, but no one around you seems to care. So to start, we're going to review what your options are. And I'm going to do my best to convince you to be the one to instigate change in your company. And if I get you on board, I'm going to outline the next steps. The good news is there's only 2. But first, let's talk about what your options are. So for your first option, you could do nothing. And I would not recommend this at all. This provides 0 improvements for anyone. Worst case, your company continues to struggle and your skill set and knowledge doesn't evolve. Second option, you could quit your job. Now, if your company is toxic, yes, leave, but I don't think that's the case for most existing pharma sites. Typically, people are good intention and are just doing the best they can with what they know. I want you to be excited about Industry 4, but I would be devastated if your first response was just to abandon the 3.0 sites. That would defeat the purpose of this series and why I advocate for 4.0 in life sciences. For the record, I'm advocating for Industry 4 not for the technology's sake. It's because I care about the people. We live in a free market society. Over enough time, all remaining sites will be 4.0. Nobody can compete in business today if they don't use electricity. That was Industry 2. Nobody's going to be able to compete in business decades from now that isn't a digital company, which is Industry 4. This transition, it's happening whether we like it or not. It can either be a beautiful thing or it can be extremely painful. And our future will be painful if today we abandon the 3.0 sites. Because even if the total number of jobs stays the same or grows, as some 3.0 companies go out of business and others expand, the consolidation from thousands of companies to hundreds would be difficult and disruptive. Layoffs, mergers, monopolies, they're never a good thing. Plus, the people at the 3.0 sites would be at a disadvantage in the job market because they don't have familiarity with the 4.0 stuff. I want to avoid that by having as many people included in Industry 4. And this leads me to the third option, which is you become the catalyst to instigate change in your company. This is my favorite option and goal of the series. Accomplishing this makes you literally the most valuable person at your company. It keeps the local jobs, grows manufacturing, all good things. Now, if that sounds daunting, don't worry. I'm not saying, hey, you need to single-handedly fix your whole company. Start working 70 hours a week. 9 to 5 is your day job and 6 to 12 is learning 4.0. Your family sees your face only 60 minutes a day. No, I don't think that's a realistic way to include most. And it kind of defeats the purpose of 4.0. It's supposed to improve your life, not make it worse. Instead, I'm going to ask you to take 2 next steps. First, I want you to get a basic understanding of a few core concepts. How to start digital transformation, why data ops is important, why the unified analytic framework is important. Now, the good news is I'm covering those in the rest of the series. So all I'm asking is that you check out those videos. The second thing that I want you to do is at the end of the series, set up just 1 meeting with your direct manager to suggest moving towards Industry 4 and share what you learned. And this video will help prepare you for that conversation. And if it goes well, congratulations! You've initiated your company's digital transformation. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. You can be proud that you tried and gained valuable knowledge. And if you're really passionate about 4.0, you can continue learning in your free time. Or if it comes to it and you decide to look for a new job, you'll have key concepts that you're knowledgeable on to discuss in interviews to ensure the company you're trying to apply for actually is embracing Industry 4. Okay, so that's the grand plan. Let's get into the first thing I want you to understand, which is how to start digital transformation. I touched on it in the previous video, but it's worth reiterating again. If you are going to be the catalyst for change, your first step is not to just convince your company to buy the coolest software you just saw. It's to start with that assessment, which involves evaluating your company to identify areas for improvement and goals to strive for. And since companies are made up of people, strategy, mindset, and culture must be included. And this assessment will guide you to a clear UNS-based proof of concept, POC for short, to iterate on. And let me tell you something. 3.0 sites love to skip this step. No one wants to hear this, and I wish it wasn't true, but just having Ignition doesn't make you 4.0. Let me be clear. I love Ignition. It's powerful and should make your company cutting edge. But there's nothing stopping you from recreating all of your 3.0 problems with it. Just having nuisance alarms going straight to your phone isn't 4.0. If it was as easy as just cutting a check for a software, Life Sciences would have bought that first class ticket to Industry 5 by now. But that didn't happen. Instead, sites are stuck. And honestly, I can't blame them. It's so easy to mix up a 4.0 assessment process with regular project planning, because that's what we know. As I said before, I used to be a Group 1 person, totally oblivious to the world of Industry 4, and when I first heard about the assessment process, I didn't get it. I remember thinking, isn't this just classic pre-project planning or continuous improvement? Everybody talks about leadership. Why is this any different? And if you actually go into the details, there are a lot of differences. But I will share with you just one big outcome that made it click for me. That is, a successful assessment helps turn your plant into one that can continuously innovate. Just ask yourself, how many sites today look like they're frozen in time? If you magically brought somebody from 2014 to your plant floor today, would they even realize they traveled into the future? Because believe it or not, 2014 was 10 years ago. And probably not. But if you took that same person and dropped them off at Tesla's Berlin's Gigafactory, not only would they know they traveled into the future, they might think it's a different planet. And the thing is, Tesla, Amazon, your site, you all have access to the same free market, to the same softwares, to the same intelligent workforce. What's causing the difference in innovation? It's not external. It's completely internal to how you run your business. And while sites often have internal projects, those efforts are usually focused on maintaining production, managing changeovers, swapping equipment for new products, and continuous improvement. However, this is different from true innovation. Innovation means solving novel problems, not just improving how you solve the same one. If I was to make a graph where the y-axis is novel problems you can solve and the x-axis is time, if you plot a 3.0 site, it's gonna look like the first half of a trapezoid. There's a nice ramp up when the site was first being built, because adding automation allowed you to solve a lot of new problems. But once it's built, it plateaus. It's parallel. They stop evolving. But a digital company, it keeps climbing. And I understand why this is the case for existing sites in life sciences. Every workflow, every task someone does is governed by some SOP, work instruction, or quality standard. Even if you want to change just your area, you're still going to need 3 different signatures from 3 different departments. Thus, stagnation isn't surprising. We risk assess ourselves into it. There is a mindset to avoid disruptions because historically, all of those discrete changes required a lot of time and money to make. When those sites buy the latest software, all that happens is you made another stair step up on the innovation graph before your company just flatlines again. And this is why you have to start with that 4.0 assessment. Traditional project planning often stays in the bounds of the structures already built. But a 4.0 assessment should be a disruptive process. Yes, there were good reasons why very intelligent people made your procedures the way they are. But technology has come a long way, offering better methods that reduce validation and integration costs. Most people in your company aren't trained on the new technology and have no idea it exists because your legacy software and its limitations are ingrained into your SOPs. So even though I know you have good leaders at your site today, their effectiveness is constrained by your existing policies, procedures, and strategies. And this is why that first step is talking to leadership, talking to QA, talking to IT, and understanding how did we get to this point? And communicating. There are more automated, more traceable, more compliant ways to do these tasks. And we need to figure out how do we safely and compliantly update these procedures to foster innovation. And the answers to these questions are so unique and drive so much of what is possible. You must start with this assessment process before you even think about what software to buy. So naturally, the next question is, how do we get our company to do one of these assessments and then proofs of concepts? Well, you're going to need at least 2, most likely 3 things: time and help, and probably money. At a facility that's currently making money, doing what it does, however inefficient, you don't have the luxury or political capital of learning things the hard way, which means trying and failing until you figure it out. If you try to do something different and it fails miserably right out the gate, that's it. Game over. That facility has quotas to meet, internal projects to do. If they don't see any value add from your novel approach, they're going to abandon it and default back to what they know makes money. And this is why you need to get help. Whatever that first step is, it has to succeed. So you need to figure out what works from others and then take the time to learn how to apply it to your site. Now, the amount of time this takes depends on how much money you have at your disposal. So, the first option needs no money, but a whole lot of willpower and a lot of time for learning. The good news is, thanks to the internet and the community, I'd say this is actually a viable option. If you go to events, go to webinars, ask questions, leave comments, reach out to people on LinkedIn or Discord, I do believe it's possible to figure out your own path. Now, a risk with this approach is the people who want to talk to you the most tend to want to sell you something the most. There's no guarantee that people are going to give you unbiased, good information. And it will be up to you to discern who is full of it versus who is genuine. And you're going to have to spend some time learning psychology, leadership, and technical information before you can start adding value to your company. It's definitely the riskiest option and will require the most effort and most man hours on your part. But in terms of liquid cash, this is the cheapest because your payment here is time. Now, the second option requires some money, but less time. And that is you accelerate the rate at which you build up your knowledge via paid classes or one-on-one consulting time. For example, IIoT University teaches how to do their digital transformation assessment, known as DTMA. And another resource would be Jeff Rankinen at the Pennsylvania College of Technology. And what impresses me about Jeff Rankinen is he is constantly learning and actually does consulting in the real world and takes that novel information back to the classroom. I took a lot of college classes that didn't help me at all in the real world. Thanks for nothing, organic chemistry. But I don't think his students have that problem. So those are two great resources to check out. But if you do go this route, keep in mind, you still have to invest time figuring out how to apply what you learned to what your unique situation at your site is. But the good news is there is a community to help with any questions. Also, if you go the route of educating yourself, when it comes time to do the actual work, you still need to invest time training colleagues or new hires on how to help execute. But with this approach, you do cut down the amount of upfront learning time required before you can start adding value to your site. And then there's the third option. You have some capital to spend and want results fast. In which case, I recommend hiring someone to come in, do the assessment, which points to the proof of concept. Because the whole point of a consultant is they save you time. You get to leverage their expertise to start doing work and adding value immediately. But remember the previous video to this one. You must protect yourself from getting ripped off. Digital transformation is a big industry, and a lot of people are selling it with the wrong motive, which is to be profit first instead of focused on values and solving problems. Protect yourself by using an agile approach, and make sure one of the deliverables is education, because you need to learn this stuff either way. The difference is, with the right consultant, your site can immediately start getting value, while simultaneously, you're starting to work your way up the learning curve. One side note here though, if you do hire someone to help with this assessment, you should pay for their time. Since so many 3.0 sites want to skip this step and jump right into buying software, some incredibly good faith consultants will offer to do this assessment for free because they know it's that critical to success. But I don't recommend this for 3 reasons. First, it's unfair. This process actually requires quite a bit of effort and some time, which really should be compensated for. Second, it's less likely to succeed. As Zach says, if you aren't paying for it, you're not paying attention. And I do think that is incredibly true. If you're going to change the business, you need the higher ups to listen. And if there is a price tag attached to that meeting, they are much more likely to focus. And third, I think the number of truly good, selfless actors purely trying to help for free is smaller than the amount of ones with an agenda. Statistically, you, the manufacturer, are much more likely to run into someone offering to do an assessment for free as a means to get their foot in the door to sell you something. Which means they're always going to conclude they can help, even if it'll probably fail. And that's not what you want. If you're getting external advice, you want them to be compensated so they have no incentive to mislead you. If it's the case, your site has too much wrong and they see a proof of concept as doomed to fail, you want them to stop charging you and say, hey, don't proceed until you fix A, B, C, not lead you by the nose to their paycheck. All right, to recap, we've established that the first step is the assessment. And to do that, you need time and help and potentially money. And you guys watching probably don't have those things. Which is why at the end of the series, I want you to set up that meeting with your manager, because they might be able to help you get what you need. And you can start that conversation by expressing your interest in Industry 4 and explain how it could improve everybody's life if you were a digital company. You could provide a data silo example, such as the difficulties of looking up information, time wasted logging into multiple systems, or dealing with error-prone paper records. And suggest that your company should devote some time and/or money into taking that first step. And of course, if your manager clearly is not receptive to this conversation, please be polite, thank them for listening, and move on. I understand that not every conversation will lead to immediate change, but even if it seems to fail, it's still valuable. Because if enough discussions happen within a single facility, it can make a significant impact. For example, if 5 people in one company simultaneously suggest moving towards Industry 4 with an assessment and a unified namespace, that would be weird. And it will likely draw attention that could inspire some real change. Now, if your manager is receptive to hearing you out, there's one question I really want you to ask, which is there currently a 4.0 initiative going on? And if they don't know, tell them you will wait and reschedule another meeting for once they have an answer. Now, if they reply, nope, we're having a hard enough time keeping operations running, then you can say, great, that's a symptom of working at a 3.0 facility. And ask if you can devote some of your 40-hour work week or hire some external help to start that assessment process. But honestly, I doubt that's going to be the answer. 4.0 is too much of a buzzword right now for upper management to be ignoring it. Instead, if they say, oh yeah, there's a 4.0 initiative, well underway. You can look them dead in the eye and say, clearly, that failed. Because if their initiative did not noticeably improve your job to keep that plant floor running, then they completely missed the entire point of digital transformation. At the end of the day, we all care about Industry 4 because it's supposed to increase the plant floor productivity. The profit from that production line is what pays our bills and feeds our families. If the people keeping that line running, which is you, aren't the target of their initiative, then I don't know what they're doing. My guess is what they tried to do is yet again just use some software that sounded 4.0. They probably put some data in the cloud so AI and machine learning could do some magic on it, which is a wild place to start. Assuming they get it all connected and streaming, on day one, how does that improve production? Machine learning needs years of clean data before it can even start to do any really cool analysis. There are so many better ways to spend that 4.0 budget that will immediately improve day-to-day operations that has nothing to do with AI ML. The only way that we figure out that place to start, what that proof of concept is with that assessment. Now, since the POC is unknown, the next best thing you can talk about with your manager is some guiding principles. And a common denominator for every successful proof of concept and unified namespace includes data ops, which is why we're going to talk about that in the next video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.